Hi, Dr. Arvisais. It's Justin Stelzer. Try to rip through this one-on-one meeting for you real quick here with my short and long-term recommendations for the KingJewels case. Primarily, a huge problem is that there's a cultural and ethical miscommunication throughout the organization. This can be seen through one, um, the different department heads don't necessarily communicate with each other, which kind of creates a segregation in the workplace in general. The fact that Wei Tam doesn't have any idea what's going on until it's almost too late signifies that there's going to be an issue there in terms of just how the organization is structured. Also, it appears that there are issues within just the culture of Hong Kong business, anyways, where because it is hierarchical and people are working just under authority, they just tend to listen to authority. So if somebody who's in charge says, "Hey, we're going to do it like this," then they're just going to do it like this, and doesn't allow much room for whistleblowing so long as everybody gets paid and the work gets done. So that creates more production problems with the fake gemstones. Also, there's an ethical miscommunication that doesn't help because I think some of the major players here, and this will kind of go into the short and long-term recommendations, have different ethical constructs or ethical ideologies. So some players are more deontological, and some are more utilitarian. We'll get more into that on the next slide. And then another problem is obviously that customers are being duped with lower quality diamonds, but they're paying premium prices. This is just a standard problem. It could also be, I guess, a symptom, but I would identify that as its own individual issue. So short-term recommendations. I have a few alternatives. Primarily, we need to bring this to the attention of the CEO, Andy Wong. He is not going to be aware of what's going on because all operational activities are left to the six in charge, including Clement Tam, who is the ringleader for the unethical behavior. So we're going to let CEO Andy Wong decide what happens with Clement and affiliated parties. I imagine because this kind of thing does happen quite often in Hong Kong business, according to the case, that there may not be immediate firing or anything like that. But it needs to be addressed for sure, as the vision of Andy Wong is to make sure that KingJewels can be the best it can be and is the most well-respected company in the game. We also need to immediately stop the production of the Bliss line because customers are just plain old being sold the wrong thing. They're paying for premium gemstones and they're getting lower quality ones for the same price. That's a problem, and if they find out, which they're gonna because they're not being given the slips that show the quality or prove the quality of the diamonds, or not the diamonds, gemstones, that's a problem. And then we also need to cut the professional relationship with Denpa Stones and Sure Gems. Plain and simple, they're playing the game the wrong way. They're giving unethical rebates to a family member, which is Clement, and while it's lining his pockets, it's not necessarily good for the business long term. We also need to implement, or for the long-term recommendations, we need to implement a new incentive structure. I think that's sort of where you can kind of blur the lines between the deontological and utilitarian, because you can say that Clement is just playing by the rules that were shown to him, which is sort of win at all costs. We need to hit these growth goals, and if we hit these growth goals, your bonuses are tied to that. So if we change the incentive structure and align it with the company goals and visions, we should be able to clear that up and require ethical behavior via getting paid. We need to identify whether stakeholders, shareholders are where we want to focus, and the approach has to be from top down because the hierarchical system in place and just the culture of people in Hong Kong in general and the business culture in Hong Kong will require from the authority down to the subordinates any changes to take effect. So that's it, and let me know.